Today we are making a stuffed felt mobile. The supplies you'll need will be stuffing, an embroidery hoop, felt of whatever colors you choose for whatever animals you decide to make, as well as some glue, embroidery floss in coordinating colors, scissors, and a sewing needle. I'm just showing you how I made one specific creature, but you follow the same steps for whatever it is that you're making. So I began with a printout of a fish. Again, you can draw your own image or you could freehand it. I just felt like this was a bit safer. I went ahead and folded my felt in half and then cut off the excess. And the reason I folded it in half is because I'm stuffing it, so I'll need to have two identical pieces of felt that are cut. So I just went ahead and used some sewing needles to hold the image in place while I cut it out. The whale and the dolphin as well as the octopus I just freehanded, so I didn't even do this step with the paper and the needles or the pins, sorry, but it's totally up to you and whatever you choose. So once they're secure in place, go ahead and cut around the shape so that you have two of the same cutouts of whatever animal it is that you're planning on making, or item if it's not an animal. Once you have both pieces, everything else that you do in terms of cutting, you'll want to repeat on both sides just so that it's the exact same. So I went ahead and cut out two eyes, the white part and the black part, and then I also went ahead and cut out whatever the embellishments were that I wanted on the animals, again making sure to cut out two of everything. Before you begin gluing everything down, make sure that you flipped one so that you're working on like a mirror image of itself and you're not working on the same side. Otherwise, one side will be hidden away when you sew. So once both of them have all the embellishments on them, I just went ahead and used like regular glue to adhere the other pieces of felt on. Make sure it's dry so that you can manipulate it before you begin this next step. Thread your sewing needle with the corresponding color of embroidery floss. Just stick it through one of the sides to begin with, and then tie it off in a knot from the inside. That way you won't be able to see it once you begin sewing. For this project, of course, you could use a sewing machine. That would make it a lot faster, but I wanted it to have a really pretty edge because obviously the edge is going to be showing. So I decided to do a blanket stitch. Now, if you don't know what a blanket stitch is, you can just go to Google and look it up. But basically, you sew a stitch, and then as you saw me do, you weave the needle back through the center of the stitch that you just sewed. Every time that you start a new stitch, you start from the same side of the fabric. So in my case, I always started at the top and then I always weaved it through the center, and it kind of like makes a little loop on the edge, and there's stitch marks, but there's also thread lining the entire outside of the image or whatever the shape is that you're sewing together. If you have edges like mine where you know, you need to stuff the tail before you continue on, then go ahead and do that. And just make sure you don't take the thread out of what you're doing. Just like stop, stuff it, continue on. Make sure you leave a little hole in the bottom so that you can stuff it when you're almost done sewing, and then just sew up that little seam, and it looks so cute when you're done. I decided to go with 5 different sea creatures. As you can see, the thread that I used corresponds with the colors of the creatures every time, but I followed the same steps for all of them. Attaching everything to the embroidery hoop is very simple. I just used the inner ring of the hoop. I took 3 pieces of embroidery floss and I tied them at intervals on the actual hoop. Then I took my needle with the corresponding thread for the animal and I threaded the thread through, that's a tongue twister, through the top of the animal and tied it into a knot. That way it would hang. And then I just tied those on to the hoop as well. So I had 3 places where the main string that holds it up was attached, and then the 5 places for the 5 animals that I did. So each animal is attached with its own color of string, which I don't mind and I think actually looks good. So, you know, the purple octopus is with purple and the turtle shell that's brown is with brown. Then I cut strips of felt and glued them on to the top of the embroidery hoop just so that it wasn't raw wood and so that it was like matching felt the whole way around, and I just wrapped it and continued to do so until the whole thing was covered, making sure that I would skip over the thread that was there so that it didn't bunch it up or whatever. But again, you don't have to do this. You could paint your embroidery hoop before you even start. I just thought it was a pretty way to kind of make everything more incorporated, as well as to cover up the knots that are in there, holding everything together. That is everything. Once you're done, just hang it up and you have a beautiful mobile. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out the last 3 videos that I did. Also, feel free to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any other videos. And don't forget to comment and rate. I'll see you guys later. Bye.